Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports here, welcoming you to another video. So today I'm going to be going over why I believe the Seattle Seahawks are one of the best contenders in this year's NFL season to win the Super Bowl. So first of all, the Seahawks have an amazing passing game this season. Between Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Greg Olsen, David Moore, who has been their backup for the past couple of seasons, Will Dissly, who has been an amazing tight end for them the last couple of years, and the potential threat of getting Antonio Brown, I think that this Seattle Seahawks wide receiving core is going to be incredible. They also ended up getting Philip Dorsett, a former Patriot who had not amazing statistics the last couple of years, but he's a really important player and a really useful player when teams really need help in key games. So I think that between Philip Dorsett, the players they've already established, and Greg Olsen's addition to their squad with Russel Wilson as the quarterback, I think they could put up between 4,000 and 5,000 yards, possibly over 5,000 receiving yards. Chris Carson also catches out of the backfield sometimes, and with the addition of Hyde in their running game, I can see the potential for a lot more diversity between passing into the backfield and deep throws, and I think that their passing game is just going to be an imminent threat to any team that is playing against them. I think that their receiving core is much better than it has been in the past couple of years, and I think that this is going to be an amazing season for them. Next is their running game. Now, I know passing game, rushing game, keep just going down the list, but they're on their team this year. From the previous season, they have two 1,000-yard backs. That's right. Chris Carson and Hyde both had 1,000 yards last year. Now, I know that in the league, there's a good number of running backs that end up with 1,000 yards every year. But there's not a lot of teams that end up with two of those backs on their team the following season. Carlos Hyde came from the Texans after he's been going around a little bit. He was on the 49ers, he came to the Texans, and now he's on the Seahawks. And between Carlos Hyde and Chris Carson, there's a lot of experience on Carlos Hyde's behalf, and there's a lot of young fire on Chris Carson's behalf. You'll have the patient, experienced, powerful Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde on one side, and you'll have the young, explosive Chris Carson on the other. And with Russel Wilson, who had a little over 600 yards on the ground last season by himself, you're looking at almost 3,000 yards between the three of them. And if you add in Rashad Penny, that was over 3,000 yards last season. So I think that their rushing game could be also one of the most dominating rushing games in the NFL, because you have three incredible running backs in your backfield, and you have one of the best, in my opinion, the second best after Lamar, running quarterback in the league at the helm of your team. So I think that this season is going to be really incredible for the Seahawks, not only in their passing game and in their rushing game too. I think that overall their offense is going to be possibly the best in the league with the most yards. So not only do they have an amazing offense, but if you look at the players in the NFL 100, now I know that the entire NFL 100 hasn't been released at the filming of this video. They've only released the first 30. But in the first 30, the Seahawks already have DK Metcalf and Chris Carson. Now with DK Metcalf and Chris Carson in the NFL 100, I can assume that Tyler Lockett will also be there because DK Metcalf is there. I can assume that Jamal Adams, their new acquisition, is also going to be there because he's been there the past few years. Jamal Adams is an amazing pickup for this team. And I can also assume that Bobby Wagner and Russel Wilson are also going to be additions to the Seahawks NFL 100 squad. That's 2 times more players. That's 6 players. Each team is supposed to have 3. Well, if math works out, because there's 32 teams, so there should be about 3 per team, but they're ending up with 6. And I put Quinton Dunbar on here as a question mark before I saw the 80s and the 70s come out. I don't think he's going to be in there. There's a possibility, but I really highly doubt it. But right now, it's looking like there will be 6 Seahawks in the NFL 100. And if there are 6 Seahawks in the NFL 100, then that doesn't really mean anything. But the players are voting on these NFL Top 100 selections. Players themselves in the league. I think that there's a lot to be had there, and there's a lot to be said there, because the players know their abilities, and they know what other players in the league are good because they played against them. So I think that it's interesting to see these NFL 100s come out, and it's interesting to see what players are put higher than others, and it's interesting to see what teams end up with the most, I think. I think that the Seahawks ending up with a lot of NFL 100 players bodes well for them this season. Next, we look at turnover differential. So, this is one of my favorite stats to look at when you look at a team's success. Because season after season, year in, year out, the teams that do the best are the teams with the best turnover differential and the best defensive yards against per game. Now, if you look at the Seahawks turnover differential in the past 10 years, you get 2019, they were ranked 3rd. 2018, they were ranked 1st. 2017, they were ranked 7th. 2016, the only year since 2011 where they weren't ranked in the top 10. But they're still in the top half. 2015, they were ranked 5th. 2014, they were ranked 4th. 2013, they were ranked 1st. 2012, they were ranked 5th again. 2011, they were ranked 5th again. Every single year, they had a positive turnover differential, but not only positive, a massive positive turnover differential. And then the season before 2011, when Pete Carroll was not the head coach, they had a -9 turnover differential and were ranked 28th. In one season, Pete Carroll, the coach of the Seahawks, brought their team from a -9 turnover differential to a +8. And then the next season brought them to a Super Bowl victory. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty drastic change in a 2-year time frame. They went from -9 to +8 to +13 over the course of 2 seasons. If you look at the Seahawks record before Pete Carroll, they were 480, which is respectable. They were 255 and 279. There's a lot of teams that are around there for their lifetime win-loss ratio, because it's right in the middle. But since Pete Carroll, they've been 159-1, which is a .625 winning percentage. Pete Carroll's winning percentage is 2 to 3 games higher than the Seahawks average for their entire history before he came in. So, between Pete Carroll and Russel Wilson, they haven't had a losing season yet, and I don't expect... Pete Carroll had a losing season right at the beginning of his time with the Seahawks. But I don't expect them to have a losing season any more losing seasons anytime soon with their new acquisitions, their new defensive moves, and I think that they're going to be a real threat. Last but not least, you have to look at the Seahawks' schedule, and that is the 5th factor that will put them over the top, will put them into the number 1 seed, and that's the reason why they're going to end up making it to the Super Bowl. So, the Seahawks' schedule this year is, to say the least, easy for them. Their home games, which is where they do the best, the Legion of Boom, the 12th Man, okay, the 12th Man Stadium, the one that has one of the best home field advantages in the league, has the 49ers home, of course, which I believe they'll split with the 49ers. They'll go 1-1. They have the Patriots at home, which I think is a huge advantage for them, because I think that the Patriots with Cam Newton are still going to be a threat this season. So having Cam Newton at home is an amazing gift for them. I also think that having the Cowboys at home is also another beautiful thing for them to have in their schedule. I think that without those 2 home games, then their schedule might be different if those were away, but they're home. I also think that it's nice that the Vikings are at home, because I think that the Vikings, although they're usually fairly mediocre, I think that they still have a very solid, team, and they will perform very well this season. So those three teams being home games are important for the Seahawks. Now, I think that with the Rams and the Cardinals, I think that they will split with one of those two teams, and they'll beat one of them just completely. And then if you look at their away games, the only one that on here I've boxed in the ones that I think are guaranteed wins. I think that the away games at Washington, at Philadelphia, at Miami, and at Buffalo are guaranteed wins for the Seahawks. I don't see any universe where they don't win those games. And then if you look at the other away games, I've circled the 49ers because I think that that's a very likely game for them to lose, but I don't think that it's an unlikely proposition for the Seahawks to win 15 games this year. I think that the Seahawks have the team, the talent, and the coaching to do that, and it'll be very interesting to see how the season unfolds. Last but not least, we have Antonio Brown, ? Because that's a real possibility, and that's a real player that has a top 5, that has some records that nobody else has. So he has 2 appearances in the top 10 receiving yards of all time. Nobody else has that. Julio Jones doesn't have that. Jerry Rice doesn't have that. They both have 1 appearance. Antonio Brown has 2 appearances in the top 10 receiving yards of all time. He also has 2 appearances in the top 5 receptions in a season of all time. 129 and 136 are both seasons that he has had that are in the top 5 for most receptions in a season. His yards per game is in the top 10. And he's had multiple seasons that have been extremely high for yards per game. And I think that if Antonio Brown finds his way onto the Seattle Seahawks, and there's an asterisk here, stays the entire season, then I think that he could be an incredible threat for them, and he could really push their team from a 12-4 team to a 12-4, 13-3 team to a 15-1 or potentially undefeated team. So it'll be interesting to see how the season goes, but the Seahawks right now are my pick for the number 1 overall in the NFC, and if they make the number 1 rank, then they'll have all home games until the Super Bowl, which of course would be a major help to the Seahawks. And I think that because of their easy schedule, they have a very high possibility of being the number 1 seed, and a higher possibility of taking advantage of that number 1 seed. So that's my opinion on the Seattle Seahawks and how they're going to do this year. If you like it, let me know. Leave a like. Comment down below what team you think is going to win the Super Bowl this season. And if there's any video ideas that you want me to do, anything that you want me to analyze, anything that you want me to give suggestions on, let me know in the comments below, and I will make a video on it because I don't have any comments. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.